Hey, practice owners. Welcome back to another edition of Coming Back Stronger. I am very honored and excited to have our guest on today, Dr. Gordon Christensen, a very longtime friend of the Profitable Dentist magazine. And
Yes.
we were chatting ahead of time. I know you've been on the cover a few times and were very instrumental in the our early years. So we
Yes.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
But we were chatting ahead of time, or ahead of the interview here, about the situation as it relates to dentists who went to dental school who now suddenly realize they're practice owners and decisions they have to make. You can't say to your office manager, take care of this loan business and I'm going to go back to see patients. So, it's I like to say that they're about 1,000,000 miles outside of their comfort zone. And I think, hearing from somebody they know and trust and have for many, many years would be very helpful. So I'm thrilled to have you on.
Thank you, Steve. It's my pleasure. I'm delighted to have the opportunity. I've known Woody Oakes forever. I can remember times when we've looked politically at some of the things that needed to be changed. We actually went to the ADA one time, met with the president, told him a few things that he didn't like, and carried on our lives. Subsequently, there were a few changes. This coming back thing is very important. I've got quite a few years on me, and I've lived as a child through the Second World War. I was a paper boy during the Korean War. I was in the Vietnam one. And I've lived through quite a few crises. I've lived through HIV, AIDS, SARS, this is another form of SARS. And they come and they go. They come and they go, as does the stock market come and go. If you look at the cycles, oh my gosh, they're high, they're low, they're high, they're low. The major problem I see with dentists is many of them have never prepared for any kind of an emergency. It's hand to mouth. Earn the money, go buy a new car, get a divorce, another marriage, whatever they're doing has had little or no thought about what if there is a disaster, what if your spouse dies, what if a kid flunks out of college and is trying to kill himself. There are all kinds of miserable things that we all face. This is just one of them. And many years ago, I was asked by the Alpha Omega, which then was all Jewish, now it's not, but I was asked to identify the characteristics of the major leaders in particularly the last several generations. It was quite a task. I went to biographies, autobiographies on people like Norman Vincent Peale, Churchill, Eisenhower, church leaders, medical leaders, dental leaders, lawyers, even lawyers. Yeah, and and it was pretty interesting. And it's the first point I'd like to make, and that is every single one of the 100 that we tested, every single one of them had as the number one characteristic that they attributed their success to. I think you know what it is. I think those listening know what it is. Optimism. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Churchill, never give up. Eisenhower took over that miserable big force to try to take over the Nazi empire. Unbelievable. Nobody ever said, we can't do it. We can't do it. We can't do it. We got a problem. And that's what I'm seeing dentists do right now. Many of them are whining, oh, I don't have enough masks. Well, why the heck did you store some up, idiot? It's time to look for the next one. Give it another 10 years, we'll be in another one. It's time to start looking at what to do to get ready for the next one. Like have a couple of months of storage of food, have a couple of months of income needs in the practice and in the home. I don't want to get on that because you're trying to figure out what to do right now. But the biggest point is optimism. Let me get out of this. In fact, I did my first 2 patients today. I just finished minutes ago. They were, quote, emergency, not quite, but they fit into that somewhat. One's getting married and had no front teeth.
Right.
So we are going to pull out of this. I would suggest one of the things they look at first, in other words, what do you look at first? And I would say in any one of our practices or home lives or civic lives or religious lives, that you look at what's going to run this outfit for the next little while. Did you get a government loan? No, I was too slow. I was too slow. I got it. I heard just before we started this, mine came through. I got in very fast. I could see the handwriting on the wall. And that's another thing you need to get ready for the next one. Get a line of credit. Get that sitting there, resting, waiting. So what do you do first? You look at the financial orientation of all the aspects of your life. Just sit down and take an evening and go through every financial aspect of your life. How much it take to run the house? How much it take to run the car? How much it take to pay the employees for a couple of months till I get some money from somewhere else or I get going again? And that's a finite number. It's a literal finite number for every one of those. Add it up. And then decide how you're going to store that up for the next one. So I feel like the first thing is looking at the cash reserves or lack of them currently, because a lot of you had no cash reserves. So now you're going into, well, as I look at some of my very dear friends who teach with me, and 50 of them, some of them were ready, no problems. Others were thinking the end of the earth had come, literally, because they had no money whatsoever. Have a plan as you go back to work. I need this much money to run, and make the staff know that same number. I got to do so much to pay you. You're here. I'm here. We have a family. How much do I need? I need this much. Okay. Resurrect the hygiene patients from the time you quit practicing till now. They're your cash cow. They're just sitting there. Some of them in my son's practice, he's a prosthodontist as I am, some of them in his practice started to whine at him and say, I'm going to have to find another dentist. I haven't had my Profi. And you think, huh? You haven't had your Profi? That's bothered you? Oh, I'm going to lose my teeth. Resurrect these hygiene patients. Look back at your schedule and see who was scheduled that you did not do. Get on the phone, or you or the staff get on the phone to that patient. Remember that bridge we were going to do? Oh yeah, are you back? Yeah, I'm back. Okay, it's got to be proactive. Looking at the patients that did not get treated from the time you quit till now, and agitate them. Give them assurance that you have every infection control thing you could possibly have. By the way, those of you listening, we just did a 3-hour video. I shouldn't say we. My dear wife, Dr. Gordon Christensen, PhD microbiologist, we did a 3-hour video on infection control. Available for you if you want it. There is nobody that knows more than Rella. You go to P like Paul, C like Charlie, pccdental.com, pccdental.com. And you want the current 3-hour video we did on infection control. It'll blow away half the stuff you're getting from CDC. It'll literally blow it away. They're 25 years behind. We showed ethyl alcohol was working 25 years ago. Others were negating it. One after the other thing, you'll get a lot of new information on. Anyway, have a plan. And then don't just sit on that dang plan. Communicate it to your staff, to your spouse or significant other. Communicate the plan. Here's what I think will work. I've thought about it. I've looked at it financially, and it looks like this is going to work. So here's what you need to do. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to get the hygiene patients back. Who's going to be in charge of that? Who's going to be in charge of calling the patients that were scheduled before and we have not done? Who's going to be standing outside the door as we did just an hour ago with the thermometer before we even let them in the building? Who's going to do that? And who's got a questionnaire? By the way, we have a questionnaire for you on our other website. Clinicians, this is one big long word. Clinicians, plural, cliniciansreport.org, cliniciansreport.org. It's one big long word. There's one free CR report on there on all the infection control stuff that we've looked at, like the myths in infection control. Go for it, cliniciansreport.org. But who's going to take over that infection control thing? And I'll bet 9/10 of the people listening to this thing have not been adequately involved with infection control. I'm married to an infection control guru, so I have to be. I'll bet 9/10 of you are wearing scrubs. Do you know what scrubs really are? They're the underwear of a general surgeon. They are the underwear of a general surgeon. CDC is saying, has always said, you need high neck, long sleeves. They've always said that. How many of you are doing it? I'll bet not 1%. I am, because I have been, because of my wife and her research. But there are quite a few things like that that you need to get somebody in charge of. Where do you find high neck, long sleeves? I'll give you a company. Landau, Landau. Landau has exactly what you want there. There are other companies as well. If you go to our website, you'll get that infection control report we put out. I'm talking too much, Steve. You should.
No. I'm taking notes. So anytime we talk, that usually ends up how it works. I just
Is that right?
drinking from a fire hose.
Get that
pages
operating
and pages.
budget. Get that operating budget. If you don't have it and you just go in there blindly and you're doing the class 2 composites all day, you're going to bankrupt still. And it's approximated that 20% of American dentists are going to go bankrupt unless we get back very soon. The Brits, the whole British Empire, says 70%. We've got to turn on when you get back there. It isn't, oh, who's going to feed me? It is, how am I going to feed me? It's getting proactive and going as fast as you can go on the things that need to be done. Are you going to work Saturdays? You darn well better. I would consider it just like starting a new practice. Because I've started several dental schools with helping others, I've started 4 practices, and they each took 5 years. When you go back, they're going to want low budget stuff. They're going to want glass ionomer cements in big holes. They're going to want conservative restorations. They'll want Profi so that they feel comfortable that there's nothing rotting in there. They're not going to want full mouth rehabs and a half a mouthful of implants and adult orthodontics and all the stuff that you've been hyping on for the last many, many years. And so get yourself at the dental school level. Yes, work evenings. When I was in graduate school, I was in graduate school several times, and each time I had no money, so I was practicing. I'd get out of school 5 or 6. I'd go in. I'd practice. I'm not kidding, till midnight. And you'd be amazed how many people would come in that late. They wanted to. They're late people. They're working all day. They're teachers. They're bankers. And they would come in. We worked Saturdays. It was right after the Vietnam War. And therefore, there were a lot of Vietnamese wandering around. I took big flocks of those people. A lot of them had no money. Big deal. They found money. It didn't take them too long to get a job. So don't kiss off some of these lower budget kind of things. That's where we are. We're all starting a new practice. I guarantee you.
I think that's a great mindset, a great way to approach it.
I think
and you know what I see is, and I've done a lot of these. There are two camps, I think. Practice owners who understand they're the owner, and it all stops with them. They either make it or break it. And then there's a camp that kind of thinks they're on it almost, if you think about it, they're almost like an employee of their own business. Well, we're shut down. So I'm going to make sure the grass is cut, and I'm going to, binge watch whatever on Netflix. And when I get an all clear, when I get a text, from the governor or the president, it says, okay, open up, then we'll go back. And I think you're right on. They're in trouble. I don't think that's going to be possible. And that's that percentage that, may just don't make it back.
Steve, I could not agree more with you. I feel that's true of all life. I've done quite a few entrepreneurial things, as Woody has. And there's an old saying that you know as well as I, and that is, there's no time off for a small business owner. And that's what we are. Small business owners have got to be on it all the time. I could take the income of a typical general dentist in America, and these are ADA numbers, so they're not mine and they might not be yours, but typical general dentist is grossing 800, 900,000.
Right.
a year, and they got a 71% overhead, which just shot the heck 500 to 600K. Now they're down to 200, 220. They got 40% tax on that. I don't have any reservation at all with proper use of staff and proactivity. You can double that in 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I have no reservation at all. I've done it. That's how I've been able to exist and do all these other educational and entrepreneurial things. But it takes other hands. You got 2 hands. That's it. The average American dentist has 2 dental assistants. Wow. I don't know how it exists with 2 dental assistants.
Yeah.
If you turn those people loose, you'll double that. Well, you got to educate them, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But once they're educated, once they know how to make occlusal splints, sleep appliances, once they know how to do Botox, once they're into all of these kinds of things, oh my gosh, you can't control the amount of money you make. I'm not money oriented. Never had to worry about it. It's always had too much. So get proactive is my major message to everybody, but start looking at the bread and butter things as you go back. Don't mind if somebody comes in and doesn't have the money. You got the time. They don't have the money, but they will. They'll have it. So it's just a matter of time. So they will come back because you were good to them.
They also, I think, my personal opinion, I think there are 2 schools of thought. One is that, we ramp back up like this.
Yeah.
But what I look at is, you have 6 weeks as a practice owner. You have 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks by the time you get back of missed hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's a mistake to say, we're going to be slammed if we just can't see these patients. So we'll just move them off till October.
Yeah.
That is a giant chunk of production and collections of revenue that disappears. And if you're at 30% margin and you're off too many months, that's your entire profit for the year. So you're losing money.
Yeah.
And so what I think is you come back and you work those people hard, and exactly like you said, you tell your staff, listen, once we get back and we know the day, even if it's 2 weeks from now, we're going to start scheduling. We're going to say, hey, we're coming back. Anybody who's in the schedule, confirm them hard. And anybody who we've missed, put them in the schedule. And that might mean working Saturdays. It might mean working 2 days a week till 7.
Evenings, whatever it takes. Early mornings.
But you need that cash flow.
Yeah, in fact, I had excuse me for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I had a schedule early. I've done a lot of civic work and church work, and done a lot of creative things. And I had to make this kind of schedule up when I was really in heavy active practice. I just fiddle with it now. I'm part-time. I've had many, many years of up to 70 patients a day with staff and all. And you have to get creative. So I thought, how about if we practice 7 to 1 on one day, and 11 to 5 or 6 the next day? Guess what? I got 2 half days. Wow. And I did all kinds of things in those half days, and the staff loved it. In came the Social Security guards, the Gestapo. You have to have a break. Well, ask these women if they want a break. No, we keep food in the countertop there, and they can go microwave anything they want, anytime they want. Oh, so they do have a break. Yeah, but they take their own break. In that kind of a schedule, here's what happened. There was no downtime. If you're on 2 4-hour times, which most dentists are, about 11 o'clock, I'm going to lunch. Well, what am I going to have for lunch? Maybe I need a drink too. I don't even drink, but some of them do. So you lost an hour. Now they come back. I'm tired. You lost basically 2 hours out of the day. So in the 7-hour shifts we developed, we were making more gross than the 2 4-hour shifts previously.
And that's great. That is, I think you're right, spot on. That's the kind of thing I think practice owners who are listening need to realize they're going to have to figure that out. If you go back thinking it's the same box you were in before, it's just not.
It's not going to be. First of all, some of them will be frightened of you. I was amazed, though. Some of the people that I work with, my 50 teachers who helped me, were doing a lot more during this time than probably their governor would have liked them to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty interesting as I talked to some of them, in that the patients weren't frightened.
Right.
They trusted the doctor. They weren't frightened. I thought they would be very frightened. I think well, all of them had a written form saying, here's what we're doing to protect you and me. I think that's almost essential going back to let them know, yeah, we're using every infection control standard that's been recommended and even beyond that. As today, I went in there, broke 2 gloves. The gloves are getting so thin. Well, I know why. The less nitrile or latex they put in there, the more money they make. They're getting thinner, thinner, thinner every year.
Yeah.
So you tell them what you're doing to protect them.
So yeah, one little bit times billions of gloves turns out to a lot.
Oh yeah, it sure does.
But I think they're the same situation. Maybe you can, you've seen a lot of patients over the years. I think patients do fall into sort of there's always, what does a friend of mine say? There's no piece of bologna that's so thin it still doesn't have 2 sides.
There's no
so there's always 2 camps, and there are patients who are hypersensitive and want all the details, and there are patients who say, I trust Dr. Christensen. I'm coming in. He'll take care of me, and you do.
Yeah.
That's so, and I think you need to be ready for both of those in your practice.
I have looked very carefully at the statistics. I've done quite a bit in infection control myself over this last while. My wife is an authority, and I'm some kind of a slave that works with her. But in the meantime, it's very interesting to see. Only 1% of the people affected are dying. And just saw a report this morning. They claim that California is so underestimating how many are infected that they're claiming they're 40 times more than they're reporting. So if we really look at death, you got a lot more chance just walking across the street going home than you've got from this virus. If you use half an ounce of brains, the people who have gone berserk are not looking at the overall statistic. Just last night I saw statistics on, well, I was looking at the obituaries in the local newspaper. And here, I don't know what they had in there, probably 50 that died that day. We're thinking, oh, but 3 died of the virus. We've got to be realistic at what we're looking at and just use every precaution. If the good Lord wants you, he'll call you. Just shut up and work and do every precaution you can.
Well, that's and I think at the end of the day, you're right. We're both entrepreneurs at heart, and that's always been interesting to me about the dental profession. 86% of practice owners are dentists.
Yes.
Went to school to practice dentistry, but now they're entrepreneurs. There's no other profession that's even close, even remotely close.
No, they're all employees.
Yeah, and this has rolled along really nicely for since the recession, 2007, 8, and 9. Things got tough. The industry changed, and now we're back in it. I think you're exactly right. These things come and go, but this one is big for dentists, and it can seem overwhelming. It can seem the end of the world.
They can.
But it's as you said, it's not. You'll come back if you want to come back. And
gear down your expenditures. Get on that budget I talked about. Know how much you can and can't spend, and work out. I don't have any reservation.
Well, I know you have infection control, and they shared with me that you've given the website, and I'll make sure that we share that. But your 3-hour infection control, and that's CE, I think, also.
That has gone absolutely berserk. I asked Rella if she would do it. She said, no, it's too early. And I said, no, it's not too early. And in 3 days, we already had well over 1,000 attendees. It's just amazing, and it's gone crazy. Well, Rella is, I'm going to say it, she's my wife, and I've lived with her for several decades.
Uh-huh.
There is nobody that knows infection control better.
Yeah.
There is nobody even close. As I look at some of the, well, I'll tell you a story you won't like. During the Reagan time, and I'm a Republican, I fully admit it, and I like Reagan. However, one of the things he did I didn't like. He eliminated all federal testing of infection control products. That was in the 80s.
Okay.
So no government agency looks at any of these things that are being touted right now. You're a businessman, Steve. How about if you're making something and let's say you're mildly dishonest and you slip something in, and whoever's over you is going to say, okay, you're the boss, you tell me what to do. That's what's happening in infection control. The companies do their own research. It's like the wolf in the chicken house. They do their own research. They advertise their own, even to hospitals. They advertise their own products with their research. And I can candidly tell you that a lot of the bugs they use to examine, you could kill with your bad breath. Amazing. We've lost the thing here, haven't we? Oh, you coming back? Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, we've absolutely let the wolves take over. We have with infection control. That's why people are dying. They weren't prepared.
And that's why I think the need is there. And they had told me beforehand the numbers that you saw from this thing. That tells you that there's a need. And
oh, wow.
Well, I think a lot of practice owners, they know infection control and they know the basics, but we'll call it the post-corona patient. They know, what percentage of the population now knows the term dental aerosols as opposed to 2 months ago.
No question. Or touching your face or whatever.
Yeah. All these things that they have a heightened awareness of that you need to know. And so...
Steve, as I got out of bed the other morning, I thought, I'm going to count how many times I touch something before I get to the office.
Yeah.
I had 20 times I touched something suspicious, like a doorknob, toilet handle, whatever, 20 times. And then pick your nose on the way to work. No, it ain't going to work.
And everything you do. So I've seen pictures of the new door handles that we have, and you see some of these restaurants where it's just a big hook and you grab it with your arm. And that we're now we're going back to having some kind of barrier when you check out at the practice. No pencils, no pens. Laying on the desk. How many people have touched that pen before me?
Oh, so 20 a day or so,
yeah. So that's the kind of thing. So I think a good fundamental understanding of infection control is time well spent right now before you get back. So that's awesome. Right. So any as we sort of draw to a close here, I hate to say words of advice because I think you could go on forever. You've got a lot of words of advice, and we appreciate that about your contribution to the profession. Anything in the coronavirus things, practice owners, we talked beforehand, they're scared to death. And
they definitely are. The CDC has some standards. One thing about the CDC, though, that I respect the CDC. However, I understand they cannot really recommend a specific product. But let's say they say, do a surface disinfectant. Are all surface disinfectants the same? They're all different. There's only one. I hesitate to even say only one because you think I'm selling something. I'm not. And it's called Biosurf, B-I-O-Surf. Biosurf is high ethyl alcohol, 80%. It will wipe that virus out in seconds. The stuff you're buying over the counter, Lysol and others, the Californians got on that one. And they said, we're breathing the fumes. Well, they drink the freaking stuff at night and they're breathing the fumes. Give me a break. So the Californians lowered it 20%. Now it takes 10 minutes for that to kill anything. Lysol, right out of the grocery store. So there are things like this that you really need to know. The CDC, obviously, is governmental. They can't say buy that product or this product or they get in trouble. And that's one of the problems of the requirements they have. They're all generic. And are all products the same within a product line? Absolutely not. We just evaluated what? 22 resin cements, self-etching resin cements. Guess what? Only 2 of them work. How about if I said use a self-etching resin cement? Well, you got a chance that 20 of them, you're going to have something wrong. That's what we do. That's what Clinicians Report does. We look at these. We take no money from companies, no money from the government. Whatever we say has been through rigorous tests, particularly infection control, and we stand by it. We've been doing this 43 years. And we upset quite a few companies, but that's the way it is.
Well, and we, fantastic advice. We appreciate it. I will make sure that the links to, we've got cliniciansreport.org, and that's your, you evaluate.
That's the research group. The cliniciansreport.org is the research group, been around 43 years. Practical clinical courses, that's at pccdental.com, is the educational arm. That's where we have an international study club. I'm on the internet 50 times a year live, and that is basically the Christensen International Study Club. So that's through PCC, and we've got hundreds of members everywhere around the earth. When I come on with the most asked question of us that particular period of time, as an example, you listeners. For about 4 years, the most asked question has been, I like the zirconia crowns, but they fall off. It took us about 1 month and quite a few $1,000s to figure out why. The resin cements are like a marshmallow. The zirconia is like a steel barrier. You bite something hard, what does it do? The marshmallow goes down, which is the cement, falls off. So you have to make roughnesses on the inside of the crown and on the outside of the prep. You know, there's stuff like that we're on with every week, 5 minutes on the internet.
Well, and you're one of the things that I think people don't appreciate is the volume of research that you do. I don't know when you sleep.
We're into everything there is, but it's
are.
not me. I'm the idea guy, but there are 50 people carrying it out, and it works.
They do. And the product evaluations, the CE, the courses are just, I mean, they're the best of the best. So
thank you. We've got one coming up you guys might be interested in. Let's see. That is coming up May 1. Wait a minute. May 1 and 2 is restorative dentistry, the second level. It's a 2-day course. That's through pccdental.com. Our annual update, which was to be in Las Vegas, made in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that's coming up May 22. And that will be the CR update. It's been going 43 years, new information every year. And that one is cliniciansreport.org. They're people for you. That was something I didn't bring out in talking to you, Steve, and that is do something worthwhile during this time you're off. Don't just sit there watching TV and get irritated. Do something useful.
Well, I've said before, you know, if you're looking for answers for what to do, you're not going to find it on CNN or Fox News right now.
I consider it a joke.
You're going to be more confused. So
you can see me, Steve. There's a computer I'm talking to, and there's another one 6 inches away. And often I'll put Fox on one and CNN on the other, and it's a lot better than reading the funny papers.
Yes, it is.
It's a joke. Total joke.
And if you're already anxious, you know, I've said this 1,000 times. If you're already anxious, that will not help you. So, you know, we'll know. And again, I know I love my dentist friends. All my closest friends are dentists. They went to dental school, and I'll say, you know, this is just a thing you just figured out. You do. And there's this anxiety over it. They need that answer. And now it doesn't exist. Nobody's seen this. So don't focus on that. Focus on the things. You're going to be back if you choose. And reach out to resources like cliniciansreport.org and then pccdental.com. Both a treasure trove of places you can spend your time constructively and productively right now. So, well, Dr. Christensen, we appreciate you being on. I know you're a busy guy. I think you were back-to-back interviews, and we appreciate, and I'm sure times like this, you're the first guy that everybody goes to in dentistry.
Well, thank you. We know it's going to be all right. I go right back to summarize, and you know what I said first? What did those 100 people say? I mean, the major leaders of our generations.
Yeah.
They said, you could do it.
Yeah.
Optimism, enthusiasm. That's where we got to be.
Makes all the difference. So
okay.
Great way to wrap it up. And please say hi to your lovely wife.
Thank you.
And the amazing team.
She's the boss. She's the brains.
She is there, and like it should be. So
yeah.
Well, good to see you again. Good to talk to you again. Thank you again for sharing with our listeners. And
my pleasure. And good luck to all of you. You'll make it.
Will do.
Okay. Thanks.
Hang in there, practice owners. And until next time, this is it's Steve Parker, the Profitable Dentist, and trying to help you come back stronger. So
thank you. You can do it. You can do it. Bye-bye.